The future of Houston Roughnecks football may have been just drafted today, and I'm going to cover those two picks right now. What's good, Roughnecks fans, and welcome back to the Roughnecks Analyst Podcast. I'm your host, Cullen Watkins, and oh baby, do we have a good episode in store for you today. Because just a few hours ago, the XFL quarterback assignments for the 2023 season went underway, and now all 8 teams have their first roster spots filled with quarterbacks. But specifically, since I am the Houston Roughnecks Analyst Podcast, we're going to be covering the Houston Roughnecks quarterbacks today because, to be completely honest, I'm hyped for it. I'm super excited with the guys we got, and I'm going to dissect, what each of these guys bring to the team today, right now. But first and foremost, before I do that, make sure you do hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. XFL news is coming at us like crazy, and if you're a Roughnecks fan specifically, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm the #1 news source for Houston Roughnecks news on YouTube. And if you're just an XFL fan and you want to keep up, hit that subscribe button. And also, too, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much for choosing me out of anyone on YouTube. But let's get straight into it. So first and foremost, a name that is very familiar to XFL fans or spring football fans. We sort of knew this was going to be the case, that he was going to get assigned to the team. Brandon Silvers. Now, Brandon Silvers is a quarterback out of Troy College. He is 6'2", 218 pounds. And he played with the Memphis Express in 2019. He signed with the Jets, sort of in that downtime between the AAF and the XFL. Then he signed to the XFL, the Seattle Dragons, in 2020. And then he most recently played in the Spring League under our now offensive coordinator, AJ Smith, for the Conquerors. Now, he's been around the Spring Leagues. He has. And I have mixed reactions with how he's played before. But that doesn't mean I'm pessimistic about it. Let me tell you why. So in 2019, under the Memphis Express, Brandon Silvers started 2 games, and he threw for 799 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he had an 86 passer rating. All right, not the best, not the worst. Apparently he almost upset the Birmingham Iron and whatnot. Okay, pretty impressive. Signs with the Jets, never plays with them, released, whatever. Seattle Dragons in 2020. He starts 4 games and throws for only 539 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, ending with a 70 passer rating. Technically, it's worse than the AAF ratings, considering that he started double the games. And he did get replaced by B.J. Daniels in the 5th game against the Houston Roughnecks. So, based off of 2019 and 2020, it's not good looking for Brandon Silvers. But, way too many people are basing Brandon Silvers off of those 2 years, those 2 seasons. I admit, looking at those 2 seasons, I wouldn't be excited. I wouldn't be jumping out of my seat like I did. It's fair and simple. But the big part of Brandon Silvers lies in his time with the Conquerors in the 2021 Spring League season. He just fell short of a championship, first of all, a championship opportunity. He led the team to a 4-2 record, and he didn't even start all the games, keep in mind. So he led the team to a 4-2 record, very good in 6 games. He threw for 685 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, and 1 interception, and he led the league in passer rating with a 127.3 rating. You compare that to the Brandon Silvers we saw in 2019 and 2020, and it's a totally different player. And look who his coach was. The one and only Coach AJ Smith, our own offensive coordinator. Connecting the dots, jigsaw puzzle, that is why he was picked to the Roughnecks, because AJ Smith loved what he saw in 2021 on the Conquerors with Brandon Silvers, and he's trying to see if it can translate over to the XFL, and I think it can. So, looking more as Brandon Silvers as a player, we got the stats, but as a player, what does Brandon Silvers bring? Well, first of all, Yes, he did struggle in the XFL with accuracy and consistency. I'll talk a little more about that later as we go to the scouting report. But the consistency hasn't always been there. But again, in 2021 with the Conquerors, 9 touchdowns to 1 interception, that is elite level play right there. That's elite. So the last time we saw Brandon Silvers play, he threw 9 touchdowns and 1 interception over 6 games pretty much, maybe even less than 6 games. You tell me. That sounds pretty dang good. Sure, the TSL, the Spring League, may not have the same level of competition as the XFL will. Still, there's improvement, and we love to see improvement. Now, the sort of NFL Brandon Silvers scouting report out of college that I was able to find, the NFL gave him a 5.10 prospect grade. That means he's undrafted, a practice squad hopeful pretty much, and that's fair. That's fair. He was a 4-year starter at Troy, by the way, and he broke a few records there also. But the pros that the NFL scouts gave him was arm talent and velocity. They said he had great arm talent and great velocity. He could put some zip on the balls. He could handle a high-paced offense, a lot of passing, and hey, with the air raid offense we're running, perfect. And he also, I'm not going to lie, I sort of added this underneath the NFL scouting report. Okay, this is me. I said, worked great under A.J. Smith. It's proven that those two can create good results, A.J. Smith and Brandon Silvers. And 2, he's a great leader. Great leader, great confidence, and that's what you want in a quarterback, clearly. If you don't have a leadership trait or confidence as a quarterback, you shouldn't be playing the position. But the cons is where things get a little interesting. First of all, he is undersized and understrength to be a NFL quarterback, they said. They said he also struggles with reads and progressions, which is not good for the air raid offense. When you got 5 guys going down the field, you got to read the defense and go through your progression. So I am worried about that. He is not the most consistent guy, as we saw in 2020 and 2019. Okay. And his accuracy can fluctuate pretty well, too. I wouldn't say he's the most accurate guy, and that's also another sort of thing I'm worried about under a air raid offense. You got to have the accuracy, and you got to be able to read the defense. But it sounds like he has the arm talent and velocity, and if you look at his highlights, he can put the ball in some tight spots. Just got to hope it's accurate, and you got to hope that he's able to read the defense well. He also isn't mobile. He's not the most mobile guy. He can move around in the pocket pretty well, though. Shouldn't be an issue. Shouldn't be an issue under this. So overall, this is what I wrote about Brandon Silvers. He is a boom or bust pick for the Houston Roughnecks. If he does well, we're definitely a top team in the league. Definitely, given Silvers is already used to the A.J. Smith offense. You know, he's going to have a head start going into training camp, and after training camp, maybe A.J. Smith can expand the playbook a bit more because Brandon Silvers already knows probably the basics of the A.J. Smith offense. He showed great improvement in the Spring League as well. Like, no joke, go watch his highlights in the Spring League. He looked like a great quarterback. I remember watching him in 2021 and saying, man, is this the same guy who got benched in the XFL? I thought that. So great improvement in the Spring League. It's what you want to see. That's the most recent year he played. Keep that in mind. If he remains inconsistent, though, let's say he doesn't do as good as he did in the Spring League and goes back to his XFL 2020 and 2019 self, we're probably going to keep with him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does get benched again just because he has gotten benched before. But I am cheering for Brandon Silvers. I am sort of leaning towards the boom more than I am the bust. I think Brandon Silvers will hit well with this team. I think he can lead the offense. Now, it matters what wide receivers we get tomorrow at the time I'm recording this. But if we get even solid wide receivers, I think Brandon Silvers won't do the absolute worst. Simple as that. Now going into the second quarterback that got assigned along with Brandon Silvers, quarterback Caleb Ellaby out of Western Michigan. He is 22 years old, and he is 6'1" and 210 pounds. Now, it's real interesting to look at him, comparing him to Brandon Silvers. Ellaby is, of course, 22, and he has no professional football experience. So automatically, Brandon Silvers is going to start. No doubt in my mind, Brandon Silvers will start the season. Ellaby, I'd be greatly surprised if he takes that starting spot in the offseason. It probably isn't going to happen. Again, he's only 22 years old. But if you look at him and his playing career, it's real interesting to look at. So, of course, he played at Western Michigan in 2018. He played 5 games. He threw for 1,092 passing yards, 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Not too bad, I believe. He was really young then, and he came in for an injured starter. Whatever. We're not going to look at that too much. But Western Michigan in 2020, he played for, of course, in the COVID season. Played 6 games, threw for 1,715 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Ooh, man, talking about improvement from 2018. And then in 2021, he played 13 games instead of 6. He threw for 3,277 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. And it was there later in the season, I believe, he led Western Michigan to a quick lane bowl victory over Nevada. And then he went undrafted in the draft. He declared his junior year undrafted in the draft, so now he is with the XFL. So, based on his quarterback stats in college, he looks pretty impressive. But I have written down about him, he's a young and raw talent, especially in the professional playing field. I think he is definitely going to be a project for this team, for Coach Wade Phillips, A.J. Smith. He's going to be a project, but he has great upside. He has great upside. You hear the stats. He can pass, and he can do something that Brandon Silvers cannot, and that is run and scramble with the football. I think once he develops, that's going to be crucial. Maybe looking at a little like P.J. Walker type stuff. I'm not going to say he is going to be P.J. Walker, but he's more of a P.J. Walker type player than Brandon Silvers is. That's the fact right there. So sort of doing what I did with Silvers. So like the NFL, Caleb Ellaby's scouting report, they gave him a 5.55 prospect grade, the NFL did, which is higher than Brandon Silvers out of his college days. So automatically, you could say Caleb Ellaby was a slightly higher regarded draft pick coming out of college. So, okay, it doesn't really mean too much. So his pros that the NFL wrote about him, some of the pros I wrote about him. 45-11 touchdown to interception ratio. That's really good. I don't care where you play, what system you play under. 45-11 touchdown to interception ratio, phenomenal. He has great leadership qualities, just like Brandon Silvers. But he uses his feet to look for a big play, and he scrambles when he needs, and he throws on the run a lot. That's great. That's great, especially, when you have an air raid offense and you're sending guys down the field, that's less blockers for you. And when you're in a shotgun formation, you're going to need to move around the pocket. And I do think Ellaby does have that over Brandon Silvers. No doubt in my mind. I think Ellaby can navigate the pocket and outside the pocket way better than Brandon Silvers. But this is the issue, and this is why Ellaby will not be starting right away. He has below average size and below average and physical attributes and size, sort of like Brandon Silvers. Okay. But he stares too long into coverage. Even if you look at his highlights, he stares too long into coverage, and he struggles with arm strength. And those are two things that need to be used properly in an air raid offense. You got to be able to make quick decisions, and you got to be able to throw the ball downfield and throw it down quick. That's something that Brandon Silvers has over Ellaby right away, right off the bat. Even though Silvers does struggle with reads and progressions, I think he still is better and more experienced than Ellaby. Also, too, Caleb Ellaby, he can get into trouble throwing on the sidelines. That's also not too nice to see. But again, he's only 22 years old. He's only 22. He's young. He's behind Brandon Silvers. He's with Coach Wade Phillips and Coach A.J. Smith leading him. If this league goes on for more than a year, Caleb Ellaby, he'll start like next year or something. No doubt. He'll be old enough by then. He'll be talented enough. He already is talented. He's a very talented guy, quarterback. But he'll have the experience needed next year to start for this team if, of course, hopefully, crossing our fingers, we get to next year. So overall, this is what I wrote about him. He's going to be a project, like I said earlier. He's never played professionally. So I'm curious how his game is going to translate into this professional air raid offense style of play. Considering, again, his cons. of the poor arm strength, the staring too long into coverage, and getting into trouble with deep balls in deep situation. But again, he's just 22, so he's going to have a lot of learning to do, and in this learning process, he's just going to get better and better and better and better and better. So I'm not too worried about Caleb Ellaby. He's going to be great. I really like this strategy of getting an older guy and then a younger guy to go and learn underneath him. So overall, my final thoughts on the quarterbacks that we picked up. On paper, compared to the other quarterbacks that the teams got, sure, Brandon Silvers may not look like the best. Other teams got Luis Perez, Kyle Sloter, Ryan Willis, A.J. McCarron. Those are some big names. Those are proven talent. But people are underestimating Brandon Silvers' work in the 2021 Spring League season with the Conquerors. That's a big highlight point for me because I'm looking for him to continue off of that. If he does not continue off of that 2021 success, bench him, start Ellaby, in my opinion. If he stays at that level or gets even better, we have ourselves a quarterback and we have ourselves a winning football team, I can tell you that much. Now, this will all depend, too, on the wide receivers we pick up, on the running backs we picked up, and, of course, the defense that we create. I need to create a defensive video. I talk about the offense so much. I love offense, though. So, I like it. Final words, I like it. I don't love it. I'm not ecstatic. I like it. I think it's going to be interesting to watch this play out. I think Silvers is a great guy. I just hope he can really make this team his and execute on the plays. And, of course, Caleb Ellaby learning behind him and having Wade Phillips and A.J. Smith there to help him along the way. But anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. I've been waiting to make a video like this talking about our official quarterbacks for forever. I need to pinch myself to make sure I'm not dreaming. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, hit that subscribe button and also hit that like button. Why not while you're already down there? I will be making another video very, very soon because I'm either going to make a video tomorrow or the day after to talk about the rest of the XFL draft. And we're close to training camp. Training camp's the beginning of January. It's middle of November right now. We're on the way. We got more content coming for y'all. So hang in there, folks. I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Go Roughnecks, baby.